Good morning, and welcome to Building an IET Model, sponsored by ICSPS, the Illinois Center for Specialized Professional Support, and SIPDC, the Southern Illinois Professional Development Center. I'm Davin Gibson, along with Sarah Goldammer. And during this webinar, you will all be muted. And if you have any questions, please raise your hand or type your questions in the chat box. This webinar is being recorded, and you will receive an email with the link later this week. And right now I would like to introduce our panelist and presenter, Josh Benezzi, the Associate Director for Adult Education and Workforce at ICCB. Josh?
Thank you, Bevan. Good morning, everyone. We're going to talk today about building an IET model, which of course is an integrated education and training model. And so our objectives this morning, I'm going to explain what IET is, go through the definition and the required components as they're laid out in WIOA. We're going to talk about the new state policy regarding IET, the framework, and the models involved. We're going to talk about what the requirements are for a proposal to set up an IET model, and then I've got a few examples of career pathway flowcharts that I'm going to show you as well. So we're going to start with what is integrated education and training. According to WIOA, it's a service approach that provides adult education and literacy activities concurrently and contextually with workforce preparation activities and workforce training for a specific occupation or occupational cluster. So that's where the career pathways comes in, because we want this to be focused, it's not broad-based. There are three main components for IET. The first is adult ed and literacy activities. The second is the workforce preparation activities, and the third is workforce training. And I have citations there for where the definitions of these are found within the law, in case you need to look those up at any point. It's also important to note that the three components must be provided concurrently as well as contextually. The components cannot be provided in sequence and still be classified as an IET. So with the first component, adult ed and literacy activities, we should all be familiar with these 8 pieces. They're adult education, literacy, workplace adult ed and literacy activities, family literacy activities, English language acquisition activities, integrated English literacy and civics education, or IELCE, workforce preparation activities, and integrated education and training. You'll notice there's kind of a pattern. Some of these things are cyclical and they refer to themselves. The second component is workforce preparation activities. And it's a pretty long definition here. I'm not going to read it to you verbatim, but it involves services that are designed to help an individual acquire a combination of skills: academic, critical thinking, digital literacy, self-management, things like that. And OCTAE has broken them down into 6 pieces, 6 aspects that can be used in providing workforce preparation activities: utilizing resources, using information, working with others, understanding systems, transitioning skills, and other employability skills. With the workforce training component, this is of course a new area for us, and it's defined not in the Title II section of WIOA, but under the Title I section. And the definition here is actually not even in the law, it's in the rules. Workforce training for a specific occupation or occupational cluster, which can be any one of the training services defined in Section 134C3D, which is under Title I of the law. And so most of the things that you'll be seeing next are not things that adult ed providers can or even should try to provide. This is where partnerships comes into play. The first is occupational skills training, including training for non-traditional employment. This is by gender for the non-traditional. On-the-job training is the second one, including apprenticeships. Incumbent worker training, combined workforce training and related instruction, including cooperative education programs. private sector training programs, skill upgrading and retraining, entrepreneurial training, transitional jobs, job readiness training, and then we get into, again, the cyclical parts, adult ed and literacy activities, including ESL and IET, and customized training. So now that we've laid out what the components are, we're going to look at the new state framework for IET. This is a graphic model showing how we are defining and classifying IET. We've got pre-IET, which will include our Model A pre-bridge and our Model B bridge programs. And so they will ladder into an IET program. Model 1 is ICAPS, which everyone should be familiar with. It's been around for a while now. And Model 2, we are tentatively calling WAITS. It's the Workforce and Academic Integrated Training System. With pre-IET, we've got the pre-bridge and bridge programs, and these are the common elements between the two: contextualized adult ed curricula, career development, transition services, technology skills, employability skills, and there are some bridge programs that even have credentials that are awarded, such as a ServSafe license or a forklift operator certification. For IET, we've got, as I mentioned, the two models, ICAPS and WAITS. With ICAPS, the components are laid out here: contextualized and integrated adult ed curricula, workforce preparation and career development, transition skills, technology skills, employability skills, comprehensive student support services. And where we say comprehensive here, we are not asking or expecting that any one provider will provide all of these student support services. Partnerships and referrals to social service organizations, to state and independent agencies and entities, these are key in helping to provide the comprehensive wraparound supports for your students. College credit-bearing career and technical education, which is the workforce training component. Shared learning objectives, which goes hand in hand with a team-taught environment. And a contextualized support class. And some of the resulting pieces from an ICAPS program can include a high school equivalency, industry-recognized credentials, stackable college credentials, transferable college credit, and employment opportunities. With WAITS, we have many of the same components: the contextualized curricula, contextualized and integrated curricula, workforce preparation and career development, transition skills, technology and employability skills, again, the comprehensive student support services, technical and workforce training. Now this is not specified like the career and tech ed was, because this allows for more flexibility in who provides and where the workforce training is coming from. But still we want shared learning objectives, because that is actually a requirement laid out in WIOA in the preamble to the Title II rules, that there must be a shared common learning objective. We do recommend strongly a team-taught environment whenever possible. We do understand that in this new model it may not always be possible, but we ask that they try, because a team-taught environment paired with a contextualized support class taught by the adult ed team teacher really does boost results and performance. These programs can result in a high school equivalency, industry-recognized credentials, and employment opportunities. So, how to establish an IET program? We do not have a formal application process yet, because we are still working through all of the development for that, but we are accepting proposals for IET programs for both ICAPS and for WAITS. Before we go into the proposal requirements, I just want to check, are there any questions?
There haven't been any so far. Josh, but I want to encourage people that to feel free to raise your hand or to put a question in the chat box or the question box if you have something. And
All right, thank you, Sarah. Seeing no questions then, we'll go ahead and move on to the proposal requirements. The first piece is going to be a narrative description. This is a comprehensive narrative in which that we ask that you include demonstration of alignment of your adult ed instruction to the career and college readiness standards. Which of the 11 workforce training forms that were listed under component 3 will be utilized and how. Explanation of how workforce preparation activities are going to be incorporated. Define and describe your team teaching format if team teaching is going to be used as possible. How your transition and support services will be provided and what those services will entail. Explanation of how the 3 required components will be incorporated and utilized and how you meet the requirement of integration and contextualization. The second item is a pathway flowchart that illustrates progression of your classes and training and demonstrates how the components are being provided concurrently. I do have a few examples of pathway flowcharts that we'll be showing towards the end as well. A list of all credentials that will or can be awarded through the pathway including but not limited to college and credit-based credentials if applicable, industry recognized credentials, and high school equivalency. Item number 4 is a strong recommendation but not a requirement at this time. It's a letter of commitment from all proposed partners. We are including this as a strong recommendation because it will be easier to get your program up and running and to sustain it if you have a formalized commitment from all the partners that are going to be involved. Course approval applications is item number 5. So if you're developing any new adult ed courses to fit that contextualized support class requirement, we do ask that you put it through for a course approval. If you're not simply using a generic course code, which we do recommend as a beginning point rather than going through the whole thing. Try it out first, see how you want to frame it, and then put together a course approval application. Item number 6 is demonstration of need or demand for your career pathway. So the best way to do this is to make sure that it's on your LWIB's demand list, that if it's not, that you do and provide the requisite research to demonstrate using labor market information that it is a in-demand pathway, even if the LWIB has not formally recognized it as so as of yet. And also alignment with your local and regional plans under WIOA. That is a requirement as well. We are asking for a recruitment and retention plan to be provided in the proposal because recruitment and retention are very big issues for all of these programs. The ICAPS programs have seen this throughout their experiences thus far, and these programs, because they are far more intensive and involved, it can be hard sometimes to recruit and retain students, and so we do want to make sure that you have a good plan in place for doing that. And the last item is a funding and sustainability plan. We do not have any additional grant funding to offer to provide these, so a funding and sustainability plan is a must. We do strongly recommend inclusion of braided funding streams and strategies and partnerships with your LWIB, with the core and required partners under WIOA in your area, employers, other Title II providers if you partner with another adult ed provider. This is a great thing to do. Social service agencies and counterparts in your APC, LWIA, and EDR economic development region. Do we have any questions on any of the proposal requirements?
Still not seeing any, but would encourage people to raise their hand or put something in the chat if there is any.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, so this is the first of 3 example pathway flowcharts that I've included for your example. Excuse me. So when you put together a proposal for an IET, we do ask for a pathway flowchart that demonstrates how the classes will be offered, the order that they'll be offered in, and how it can stack, if it stacks, into another program. So these are all ICAPS pathways, so these are all college credit based, and they do have stackable laddered pathways into more advanced areas. So as you can see on this one, this is Triton College's Business Office Careers pathway. It begins there at the bottom. The chunk at the bottom is the ICAPS program. On the left in the blue, those are the adult ed courses and the support courses that are offered concurrently with the CTE courses there on the right. And it's a kind of a pink-red. And together that makes up the Office Assistant Basic Certificate, which is a total of 15 credit hours. And from there they can ladder then into one of 2 advanced certificates, the Business Support Specialist Certificate, which is 30 credit hours, or the Medical Administrative Assistant Certificate, which is 25 credit hours. The box there in the middle, those are shared classes between the 2, and so they would take those and then the classes that are in whichever of these boxes that they choose to go with for the pathway. The second one that I have here is the Automotive Technology Career Pathway at Danville. We have their ICAPS program here at the bottom, which is the Fundamentals of Automotive Technology Basic Certificate, 12 credit hours. Here on the left, we have the Adult Ed and Support courses, as well as a Job Skills course, which is where the workforce preparation for this program comes into play, provided concurrently with the automotive classes here on the right. And that, once they complete that and have this certificate, they can ladder then into the Automotive Technology Certificate, which is an advanced certificate at 33 credit hours. And these are the classes that are involved in that. And from there, they can choose to go into the AAS, or Associate of Applied Science in Automotive Technology, which involves 62 credit hours, and these are the additional classes required for that. This box over here shows electives that can be used for the elective spots that are in bold in the 2 boxes there. And the last pathway that I have for you here, this can be a little intimidating to look at, but this is a complex pathway. This is the CCENT CCNA IT pathway at College of DuPage, and it's under their Computer and Internet Working Technologies Career Pathway. That's the full pathway there. So we've got the ICAPS program here at the bottom left corner. This is the Internet Working Technician Basic Certificate, which results, as provided they pass the exams, it results in a CCENT and a CCNA. These are Cisco certified industry recognized credentials. We have the adult ed courses here. The resource course is the support class that's contextualized to support the technical courses, and then we have their additional adult secondary classes that they're taking for their content. From there, they can actually, you'll see here, there's a line here to demarcate. There are 2 different ways they can go. If they take this lower path here to, and I forgot to change, my apologies, that is the wrong terminology there. That is actually the Network Professionals pathway. the CCNP, Cisco Certified Network Professional, and these are the additional classes that they would take for that pathway. This is a terminal certificate, meaning it does not ladder into anything further. Now, if they choose to, they can get this one and then go on to this next one up here, but this one does terminate in terms of its pathway. Now, if they take this other one here, this is the CCNA, the Cisco Certified Network Associate Security Certificate. It's a mouthful, I apologize. One additional class, 3 more credit hours, gets them this certification as well. And then they can go into a more advanced certificate here, which is Information System Security. And from there, they can either go directly into the Information Security Training AAS, or they can go for another certificate here, Computer and Internetworking Technologies. And from there, then they can choose between these two AAS degrees, the Computer and Internetworking Technician degree or the Information Security Training degree. Now, I wanted to include this one. I know it's complicated and it's complex. Please don't be intimidated. I'm simply showing this as an example of how even a more complex pathway can be integrated and used for these programs. And so that's all that I have in terms of content. I just want to check, are there any questions?
Let's give everybody just a minute to see if there's any questions. We don't have any currently, but it's possible that they're formulating them, so we'll give them just a minute.
Okay.
I still don't see any. If anybody's formulating a question, do me a favor, raise your hand so we know to wait for you for a minute before we finish up. Josh, thanks, but I don't see any hand raising and no questions at this time.
All right. Thank you very much, Sarah. So that is all that I have. My contact information is here on this slide, and if you have any questions that come up to you later, or if you're interested in pursuing setting up an IET pathway and would like some direct advice on that, please feel free to send me an email or give me a call.
Thank you, Josh. We appreciate your time, and we appreciate everyone else's time in coming to this webinar today. As of right now, the webinar is over. Thank you.